Pulp MX Network production.
EVS Sports brings you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly on the LVK More Than Moto podcast. Here's your hosts, Lewis Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everybody, to the EVS Sports LVK More Than Moto podcast. I'm Kellen Brauer from MotoOnline.com. That gentleman over there on his telephone is Lewis Phillips from Vital MX. He's had a very busy morning, so he's still answering emails and calls and Instagrams and all kinds of stuff. Busy man, Lewis.
Hello. Yes, I've managed to slot you into my very busy schedule.
Yep, I know.
On a tight hour.
Very, very quick in and out here. You got a haircut to get to. You've got
a haircut
meetings
to get to.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Tight hour, Kellen.
Tight hour.
I don't want... if this goes 1 hour, 1 minute, I'm out. You're just going to have to run the show by yourself.
Okay, so we'll get through it pretty quick. Before we jump into our topics, though, Philly, first time in Philadelphia for Supercross in 40 years. So it's the first time that you've ever been to the city, I'm assuming. Did you like
namesake.
it? Did you like it?
Yeah, I don't really feel like I did it.
Why?
Because I didn't go to the Rocky Steps.
Okay.
Sad.
We went into town, though.
Yeah, but didn't we see much, did we? Like, we went to a steakhouse,
Yeah.
which could have been any steakhouse anywhere in the world.
Which, by the way, big shout out to
yes.
Steve's dear friend, Nick.
And now our dear friend?
Our dear friend, yeah, because ultimate hookup.
He bought us dinner.
We got apps. It was great.
If someone buys you dinner, they are your dear friend.
So-
Because he's not a business associate.
Yeah.
We don't do business with him.
We never saw him. He just
Nope.
called in and bought us dinner. So congratulations, us.
When you said congratulations, I was wondering where that was going. And I was like, I wonder how he's going to save this.
But you didn't see the city, but we saw the stadium. Did you like the stadium?
was
at least?
nice.
Yeah, the stadium was nice.
Big, spectacular.
A lot of people there, I thought, right?
Yep. Yeah, I thought so as well. I would say upwards of 40,000.
Yeah, the stadium holds over 70, and I felt like it was pretty full throughout. So, I mean, they obviously didn't have, like, the upper deck on one side was closed and a couple other weird things, but for the most part, it filled out. So
yeah, I would imagine that, like, considering how big the stadium was, they had concerns that they would sell 29,000 tickets and it would look sparse.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was a success all around, I would say.
No, it was good, and we hear that it's probably one that will come back on the schedule, maybe a rotation with another city, kind of similar to what we see with Foxborough and New Jersey.
Yep.
So yeah, I liked it, and we'll be back.
How far were we from MetLife Stadium?
Couple hours.
Oh, really? That far?
Maybe 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you stayed in New Jersey.
Yeah, but like,
and that's
New
where
Jersey,
MetLife is, isn't it?
We're almost at the bottom of New Jersey.
Okay.
There in Philly. Kind of. Maybe an hour and a half to MetLife.
Okay, not far at all then.
Yeah, I mean, you could get to New York City about that time. So yeah.
Oh.
I mean, all the New York riders were like kind of treating it as a home race to a degree.
Well, people
so
take liberties with that nowadays.
it was Hammaker's home race.
Yeah. It is funny because in GPs, you go to the country and it's home race, and it's really like a big deal.
But the difference with that, and maybe it happens in GPs, is like the state of Pennsylvania is massive. And Hammaker's actually from close to Philly, so that makes sense. But he could live almost by like Pittsburgh, which is, as you heard in the press box, is like 5 hours away. So you could say it's his home race, but he's in Pittsburgh maybe closer to another round because he's that far away, even though he's in the same state. So you can't even say home race then.
Yeah, fair.
So anyway, but yeah, I liked it. It was a cool weekend, and Philly fans were awesome. Thanks to everybody that came up to us. And we got gift cards, right?
Oh yes.
So, like,
I wish I knew that guy's name.
I did too. Like, I didn't ask his name, but a very nice gentleman gave us
I want to
gift
say
cards.
Joe.
Joe. Okay.
I don't know why. He looked like a Joe.
Looked like a Joe. Whoever you are, thank you so much for the gift cards.
Honestly, he had so many gift cards.
He did.
Like, I would say that the value of that stack of gift cards was 500.
Could be. He was handing them out like hotcakes.
Well, I got 50.
I did too.
I think Steve got 50.
Yeah.
Weege got 50. That's 100 already.
It was great. Honestly, like I'm excited to go.
Yeah, we are open to more gift cards.
Well, before we do gift cards, we're open to more non-moto topics, people. Like, we hit Twitter this week asking for non-moto topics, and we probably recorded too quick, so we may not hit on any of those today, but we will in the future. We want non-moto topics.
Yeah, we have racing topics.
Yes.
We want deep dive non-moto topics because we believe that last week we did very well with that. The proof was in the pudding because at dinner on Friday night, one of our non-moto topics came up, and that was the most animated that the table was all night. But that's what we want every week.
Yeah.
So when you say, like, I can't think of an example, a non-moto topic is like, what's your favourite season? That's not going to cut it. It's just not.
Yeah, you need ones that are like...
Do you like sunshine?
It really should
Not
be,
gonna
we
cut
should
it.
ask people, like, what's bothering you right now?
Yeah, and then we can say whether
like,
they're...
Yeah. But anyway, we'll get into some topics today, and it'll be fun. And we're going to start off with a couple moto topics to do this show. Before we do, of course, big shout out to EVS Sports. Experience the pinnacle of knee protection and injury prevention with the EVS Webb Eclipse knee brace. For over 39 years, EVS has relentlessly honed their engineering expertise, consistently delivering award-winning knee braces. This legacy of excellence is embedded in every facet of the new Webb Eclipse, which represents the culmination of their tireless dedication to innovation and rider safety. Use code LVK30 to save 30% off today. We also want to give a shout out to Namura, the leading provider of engine components for motocross, UTV, ATV, and personal watercraft for over 2 decades. Namura has been the preferred choice for premium and dependable engine components for more than 20 years. Whether you're restoring your vintage bike, rebuilding your four-wheeler, or upgrading your new 450 race motor, Namura has you covered. Our extensive line of cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, engine valves, and soon cylinder kits that enhance your engine's performance. Keep an eye out for our new and innovative products in 2024 and beyond. Stay up to date by following us on Instagram at Namura_technologies. And lastly, a shout out to Racetech. We will not really have a Racetech fan topic today, but we'll give them a shout out a little later on anyway. For 40 years, Racetech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with high-quality suspension components made right here in the USA. For modern and vintage, Racetech is your go-to source for suspension performance. So thanks, guys, to those sponsors for putting on the show every single week and making it possible for us to come in studio and chat about stuff. All right, 7 minutes on the clock. Cooper Webb gets 4th place over the weekend in Philadelphia. He started 3rd, got in a 2nd, was behind Jet, and gets 4th. And so the championship that we thought was maybe going to build into this, Webb's the gritty veteran that's not going to crack under the pressure and all this, has kind of flipped the last couple rounds where Jet has been the one, despite being a rookie, that looks unfazed a little bit and has gone out and won back-to-back rounds while Webb has instead gone 3-4, maybe had his 2 worst rounds since Indy, maybe even before that. It's not looked particularly awesome for what we expect out of Cooper Webb. Are you shocked by this ride and this performance of Webb from late?
Well, first of all, to build on what we said 2 weeks ago, here we are just disrespecting Cooper Webb once again.
Yeah.
After 2 top 4 finishes in a row.
Yep.
So just want to put that out there straight away. Not going to hide from it. We're just right back in this trap. I was surprised how pissed off he was in Philly, because I honestly felt like the ride was equal to Nashville. Like, it was no worse. I felt like Nashville already went that bad. The only difference was he got a trophy in Nashville. But being completely transparent, probably didn't deserve a trophy in Nashville.
Yeah, because Kenny would have maybe finished second. Right.
Or Chase, or who knows.
Yeah.
So there's that. Am I surprised? I don't know. It's weird. Like you alluded to, if you look at his season, there are so many peaks and valleys. Mm-hmm. It really is a story of momentum, because it's on for a couple of weeks and then it's off.
Yeah.
And it's off currently.
Yeah. So I talked to him on press day, and I think you did too. I asked him about momentum, and he literally was like, I don't think it matters. I think that this title fight is just going to be who hits each week. Like taking one race at a time, each week matters individually. It's not about, okay, Jet's on a flow right now. Next week, he's just going to keep that flow going. He could very easily just have another Jet-ish round that we saw, like at, what was the one that didn't hit? Like Foxborough, where bad start, charged forward, but by the time he was there, he wasn't close enough. Like, that could happen again, right?
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, what Webb is saying, is that when he's having those nights, those off nights, these last 2 rounds, if he has a couple off nights, that's where he could still take advantage of it.
Let me ask you this. If this continues to trend in this direction, would it hurt Webb's legacy as an all-time clutch rider who comes in swinging when it counts? Would that disappear a little bit? Because say next year we're in a similar situation, although people may say, oh, it's Webb, you don't want to face him, the follow-up will then be, yeah, but last year it didn't really work, did it? You know?
Yeah, I think publicly maybe. I think that there will be fans that will be like, "Oh, he fell apart at the end of the championship." But I think what people will forget about this title with the way that it's gone at the end here is that when we went into Seattle, I think the feeling throughout the paddock was like, Jet's got this. He was 21 points up on everybody, including Webb. And Webb won Seattle, but it was still 15 points. And I think, I don't know, the general feeling was like, yeah, Jet got on the podium. He probably should have won Seattle. If he wins Seattle, it's 24 points. Yeah, maybe we're looking at Jet winning this title around early.
Yes.
And Webb pulled it back. Webb had consistent, strong finishes to get the points lead back to even in the first place. Like, we would have not even been talking about this right now if things had gone slightly different at Seattle and maybe slightly different at St. Louis, for example.
Yes,
Right?
so actually the narrative isn't Webb couldn't get it done at the end. The narrative is well done to Webb for even putting himself in a position where he could possibly get it done in the end.
Right. Which is something that, like, I feel I've argued about Chase Sexton in the past, where people were just
Preach.
people were just like, whatever, like, Chase fell apart, he didn't win, he crashed, but it's like, well, actually he kept the title close, or in the outdoors, actually he made Jet work for it every damn moto. Like, that's the same thing I feel about Webb, is that, hey, like, Tomac, Sexton, now Roxon, obviously, because he's hurt, out of the title fight. Like, they're not close anymore. But Webb is still somewhat reasonably close, and he's the only guy that's been able to do that against this obviously otherworldly force that Jet's bringing to the table.
Yeah, so essentially it comes down to whether you are a glass half full person or glass half empty.
Right.
Neither is wrong necessarily. They are both factually correct. It just depends on your stance and how you view things.
Mhm.
And I guess it depends whether you're a critical person or a optimistic person.
Yeah, could be. So one thing that was interesting, and going back to talking to him on press day, he told me, and I don't know, maybe he said this to you, that he worked before Philly on sprints a lot because he thought about Nashville, and like Kenny and Eli were sprinting at the beginning and maybe caught him a little bit off guard. He lost that pace early, which means he lost the toe of everybody. So then in Philly, he started behind Tomac, and I felt like was very keen quickly to be like, I got to get by him. I got to stick with Jet. I got to put hot laps down. Was in the 52s a lot early on, while Jet was as well. And I almost wonder if that maybe contributed to him getting tight, as he said, like overexerted himself early, whereas Webb's more of a closer. But in this race, he obviously wasn't.
Yeah, did too much, and his body was like, "What the hell are we doing? This
Right.
isn't normal."
Yeah.
Yeah, I could believe that completely, because the lap or two that he was sprinting, it was the most intensity I've ever seen out of Webb ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can fully back that theory.
Yeah.
100%.
So you said that it wasn't much different from Nashville. It just happened to be that Kenny Chase crashed in Nashville, so they didn't get in between.
Yeah.
And in this case, kind of everyone was a little bit like they were catching up the whole time. Like Anderson, if he had started with Webb, maybe wouldn't have had to get him on the last lap. He would have gotten him earlier. So do you think that suggests, all right, this is kind of the Cooper Webb we're going to see on hard pack tracks, which we have 2 rounds left of it to go?
Put it this way. If you want me to list potential winners of Denver and Salt Lake, Webb isn't high on the list.
Okay.
I think, obviously, there's a better chance of Jet winning a race, but I also would say there's a better chance of either Eli or Chase winning than Webb. Fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're better on hard packed, and I would say the same about Jason. I think Jason, like...
I don't know if I go that far. I'd say Jason, and just because we haven't seen Jason win in so long.
No, I know, but I'm saying in terms of comfort on soil, Webb's better on rutted conditions, Jason's better on hard packed, and that might even out to them being... that might even them out to being similar on that soil, because Webb overall has been better this year. But that might be another factor of why, like, Webb just couldn't beat Jason this weekend, because they were basically the same pace and Webb was tired late.
Yeah, fair. And we've definitely seen that the recent hard pack tracks have favoured Jason tremendously.
Yeah.
And actually, in talking to him, it seems as though he really knows that, like, Denver and Salt Lake are his opportunities to do something positive.
Yeah. Real quick before we end here, Tomac had a similar... He had a similar ride-ish to Webb, whereas like it was strong early and then just slowly went backwards. Do we look at that as like the Yamaha overall is an issue on this soil, or no?
No, but it did cross my mind.
Okay.
But no.
No. So it was just both of them were having the same kind of weird nights.
Yeah, and Eli was... And they weren't identical, were they?
No, I mean, Eli was fading, I think, earlier on.
Yeah.
And Webb, it took maybe till 9 or 10 laps in before it really started going the other
But
direction.
it's also... It is identical in the way of... Eli also looked really aggressive on the first couple of laps.
Right.
It was surprising that it just turned off.
Yeah.
And same with Webb. It was literally a tap turning on and off.
One thing that this shows me is I've heard a lot about riders, and this comes from more mid-pack riders, I would say like, dude, no one gets tired, no one gets, off their game or anything like that. Everyone's just full sprint all the way to the end. Like, that's how good this class is anymore. I think it kind of shows that actually there is like some race gamesmanship going on that maybe no one really talks about in terms of finding a balance of not going too hard for too long. Like, no one is just sprinting for 20 minutes, I don't think.
Yes, and I believe that is where Jet is a bit of a game changer, because his ability to hit a level consistently has almost not been seen before.
Yeah.
I think we've seen it out of Chase somewhat recently, when he didn't crash last year in like races like Atlanta and Nashville and stuff like that. But yeah, I could see that. I could back that sort of line of thinking.
Yeah, so interesting. For my sake, I just hope that it doesn't turn into nothing by the end of the series. Like, I'd really like to see Webb pull a couple points back this weekend. It'd be tough to say, but
yeah, I like when you think about it. What are the chances of Jet not being on the podium this weekend? It seems like asinine to even
it would just
consider.
be down to a bad start, I think.
But even I don't know why, but and maybe this is too much recency bias. I'm at the point where I'm like, if he crashes in turn 1, if he gets up quick enough, maybe he can still podium.
Yeah, no, it's true, man. He looked really good in Philly. That's no question about it. All right, let's get into our second topic of the day, and this is breaking news, and not really like you had kind of alluded to this on the last one or the one before.
I'm Scoops.
You're Scoops.
I'm Scoops.
But last night specifically, WSX had all of their social accounts change. Right, all of them. Twitter too.
No, not Twitter actually.
Oh, Twitter changed?
For some reason, well, let me check now if it's changed since. But for some reason, Twitter still exists.
Okay.
But Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, so the Instagram account is gone, right? And then the Facebook one rebranded to SX something, SX-X Open Championship or something like that. Yeah. So now it sounds pretty official to say that Adam Bailey resigned.
No, Adam Bailey is definitely out.
He's out, but resigned is
yes,
pretty much.
Yes, it seems he did leave, but I believe he left because he and the new investors were not on the same page.
Right. So what does this mean? Like, is this the end of WSX? Are they going to keep going? What's next?
Well, do you agree with me that I don't a lot of people have seen the Instagram disappear and said it's over.
Yeah.
But I'm more of the opinion that potentially Adam owned those assets, so took them with him.
Yeah, could be.
Because actually, I don't believe that the WSX page started from zero. I believe it was rebranded to WSX from something Adam had recently.
So just quickly to explain to people that maybe don't know, Adam Bailey was the CEO of SX Global, right?
Yes.
Which is basically like Dave Prater is of Supercross, right? Like he was the Dave Prater of WSX. So him resigning doesn't necessarily mean like World Supercross doesn't exist. It's not like if Dave Prater resigns, Feld goes away. It just means that like the spearhead is gone, more or less.
Yeah, or the face of the company.
The face of the company. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, but do you agree that like I can understand why the Instagram page disappearing is catastrophic?
Oh yeah,
but it could just be the case of he took the asset with him. But also, I would imagine that if I was still at SX Global and I was looking to continue, I would figure out whatever deal possible to keep those assets, because the worst possible scenario is they now try to run and start an Instagram account from 0 followers.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think you're probably right that it was Adam's assets and that's why he took them back. But it's really a bad look for the series, regardless of which, if they continue on, that they didn't get him from Adam, because they had built up a fan base, a following. It wasn't, wasn't massive necessarily, but it was what WSX was. Like if that's the channels you were looking at, that's where it was. And now they're going to have to start from basically zero again. Like it just looks bad business, really, that you're the company and your CEO left and took the social assets with him. Like that doesn't look good.
Yeah, and especially when this is all going on behind smoke and mirrors, because there has been no announcement.
Right, nothing.
So everyone is just left to deduce what they like. Perhaps whoever is like, this is a problem as well. I don't know who it is. I know who the investors are, but I don't know who the man is now who's running this.
Would it be the Louis Dreyfus guy? Like, is he going to be the?
Well, he's the investor, isn't
I know he's the investor, but like, it seemed to me that he was a little bit more like hands-on since the start of this.
There must be someone at SX Global, though. Someone? No?
I don't know. Like, so many of them had resigned before.
Yeah.
Like, Sanderson was gone.
And when I was in Abu Dhabi, I did an interview with Adam and the two investors, and there was no, like, other person, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, I think that it was kind of down to Adam pulling it together himself.
But
and honestly, I'd also heard, and maybe you knew this, or I don't know. I had heard that like the approach was wildly different from Adam specifically after his like group had left. Of like, okay, when I redo this now, I'm not gonna act like this is the hottest thing in the world and we're the best and all this stuff like that, which was what Cochran did, right? Like he was kind of the
Casey?
Not Casey, Tony?
Yes, Tony.
Tony Cochran. He was like, this series is going to be the best. We're going to beat everybody, yada, yada, yada. And Adam, I think, was walking that back pretty heavily,
So,
right?
Yes, he was. Ish. I got the impression that what Adam was saying publicly and what he was saying behind closed doors were completely different.
Okay.
Still. But I'm just on a website called motoonline.com.
Yep, that's
Familiar?
us. Yep,
Familiar?
slightly.
And there's a story about WSX, and it says in here, SX Global Chief Operating Officer Stephen Rogers provided limited information. So I don't know who that is.
I don't know either.
Never heard of him.
And as I've said to you, I'm not really on this beat right now. This is way more Alex Gobert, who hired me at Moto Online, that is more on top of this, which, to be honest, makes more sense anyway, because all of this is Australian people.
Yeah, which, to be honest, in hindsight, you're like, that wasn't a great starting point to have, like, oh, we're going to start a world championship and we're all just Australian.
Yeah, but I mean, they hired an American PR company to do all of their stuff, right?
Yeah, and they hired a European one, but still, like that, even that was a bit disjointed. You
Yeah.
would have almost liked, I would have almost, you know what? I'm not allowed to do that anymore.
You're not allowed to dig in.
I'm not allowed to say what I would have done because people, like, I feel like people take it wrong.
You're not business guy.
No, but okay, so how do I word that so it doesn't, what maybe would have been better?
There you go.
What maybe would have been better is, as well as hiring the US PR and the Europe PR, hiring one chief PR from America or Europe that's just like, I am the man and I manage Europe and USA. So if you need me, come to me. Whereas because there were instances where, like, I would talk to the European PR person, you would talk to the American PR person.
So who was
and
doing?
we're getting different messages.
Who was doing Europe? Because I always had
Motocom.
Whitmark.
Whitmark?
Mark Whitmark or whatever. Mike Whitmark.
I don't
That
know
was
who
the
that
guy. Oh, so it's US guy, I guess.
Motocom.
Motocom.
Which,
okay.
to be honest, they only did the first one in Cardiff and then they pulled out because they were like,
Interesting.
eh. But
okay.
they're really good. Motocom are really, really good.
So if you're
Got a lot of time for them.
if you're putting money down right now, what happens? Series still goes ahead this year? Less rounds?
I do have a suspicion that it still goes ahead.
Okay.
And I don't know why, because that is not the smart bet.
Okay.
Because the teams are leaving, teams are threatening to sue.
Right.
We don't know who's running it. We don't know what the events are.
Yeah.
We know nothing. But my gut feeling is that there is something that comes from this.
I don't know how much we want to get into this little weeds of it, but it will be a question people will ask. People got paid, yeah?
Well, I don't know, because in our chats in the press box, some people made it seem like, oh, the teams did really well out of this.
Right.
But then I've heard from other people that some teams are really pissed and threatening to sue and like want their money and
Yeah.
because I guess
It's two-sided for sure.
I don't know how it works, because the teams would have signed was it a 5-year contract?
I think so. It was a long term.
So I don't know how that works for like I'm not smart enough as a lawyer to figure out how that works for the remaining years.
Yeah,
you know?
like was it deferred of any kind,
like
or
still owed the money from those years,
or per year payments or something? Yeah, I don't know.
Like there must have been a clause in there where like if SX Global break this contract, they must pay damages or whatever.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes in the next probably couple of weeks.
They have to release a PR.
They really do.
Like now.
Something has to go out.
Even if it's just a PR to say Adam's left, and we will have more information soon.
You have to say what's going on with the social accounts too, I think.
Yep. Tell us who Steven is.
But like, you can't just, this is the wrong time to be like, we'll get back to you. No, like this is your series kind of looking like it's imploding and you need to get ahead of it.
But then maybe if they don't, is there a chance this goes quietly and we never hear another word again? Next week we go on the website, realize the website's gone, and that's it.
Could be. I mean, our sport sometimes happens like that, right?
The FIM would have to release a statement, wouldn't they?
That's what I would think.
I would bet that maybe I would check the FIM website every day for this, just to keep an eye. Because there's on their website, you can go to documents.
Yep.
And you see PRs before they come out. That's where I always got the MXGP calendar early.
Old Jorge Villegas putting stuff out or whatever.
It was great. It was great. Because one year I put the MXGP calendar PR up before MXGP, and they were like, "How?" And I was like, "It's on the website. Like, the PR is just there."
Yeah.
But I could see it happening because also I was the first one to find out about WSX because the same documents section had a document saying open for tender World Supercross Championship.
Yep.
So, long story short, I could see there being no word at all, but then on that website, there's another open to tender. And that's the ultimate message that it's done.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll stay on it and probably provide updates. Like, I feel like we're going to have WSX talks for the next few weeks.
Why not?
Because,
it's
like,
interesting.
It is interesting. And seriously, like, when does this ever happen where, like, this big of a series maybe stops existing?
I almost want to like get rid of one of our upcoming topics and continue this for another 7 minutes because like I've got more to say. Should we do that or no?
What do you want to? Yeah, I mean we can. Like, what else do you want to say? Let's go in. Keep going.
Well, I don't know if I've got time for that.
Go.
Okay. Well, what you said about like this never happens.
Yep.
In my discussions with Adam Bailey, like sometimes to like smooth things over, I said to him like. Because people were getting on me on Twitter because when I went to these events, and I attended more WSX events than any other media person.
Yep.
Somewhat of an expert.
Mm-hmm.
If this was like the news, they would get Lewis in as an expert. I would tweet about like the sound system and the banners, and Adam was like, "You're not that critical of AMA Supercross," and I was like, "Yeah, but you don't understand. I'm not being critical. I'm being observant because we've never had a brand new situation like this.
Yeah.
So the way that you hang your banners and the way that you structure the pits and the way that you drop the gate and the way you do your sighting lap is fascinating because we've never had a different approach."
Yeah.
So as bad as it sounds, and I said this to him, as bad as it sounds, the racing isn't so interesting to me right now. I'm coming to these events excited to see how you operate.
Yeah.
And that's not because I want to catch you out. It's because we don't have, to your point, we've never had this situation. Mm-hmm. And we maybe never will again. I said to him, like, if WSX continues, AMA Supercross will probably stay the same way.
Right.
We may never, in our lifetime, we may never have such a prominent new situation like this.
Well, yeah, but I feel like, don't you think that if this does go belly up, the FIM pivots again?
Who's going to pick it up, though?
I have no idea, but don't you think they would think about it? Wasn't there multiple bids? This wasn't the only company, right?
I mean, yes, I heard there were multiple bids, but also I heard they were the only bid.
Okay.
And also, they did have a pre-existing relationship with the FIM through the FIM Oceania Supercross Championship.
Yeah.
And like, who else out there has a pre-existing relationship with the FIM?
Bernard?
I guess, but then also, like, I think that he's smart enough to know that Paris works and Geneva works for a very specific reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, like, what I'm really keen to see from here is just, like, what the backlash, I guess, is from this. Like, if it does not work, is it going to be fans moving forward are just going to always be weary of a new startup like this. Like, we're never going to get back to a level where someone would trust a series that starts up like this. And so that maybe makes it so that the bidders of the future are like, no, like it didn't work with them. It's obviously going to have negative impact across the board, right?
Well, to your point about new investors viewing the situation, if I put myself in those shoes, but I'm not trying to say that. What do I say? From their perspective.
Yes.
I'm going to nail this. From their perspective, I would look at the situation and be like, Adam Bailey has a lot of experience running successful events.
Yeah, he does.
They had investment of a shit ton of money from this capital. Tony Cochran has an insane amount of experience running non-moto events. They've got a team of staff already established and familiar, etc., etc., etc. This was almost a sure thing. Because I don't know if you can get such a bulletproof situation like that with someone else, where the team and the staff and the knowledge and the infrastructure is all there.
Yeah. No.
The only negative that I now think in hindsight is maybe they were all so far in Australia that you needed someone with more boots in the ground in Europe, say, to maybe that would have helped negotiations with Belgium and Germany and France, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess if you're a French promoter or a French stadium owner, and you're like, these Australians have just come to me, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Like because they obviously won't have a grasp on the sport.
SMX Cup in 2016, In Front did that?
Yes.
So when that happened, did you hear much about like, oh, this is really hard for them with stadiums, or oh, they had pre-existing relationships, or anything?
No, not really.
Lines?
It just kind of was like, there was a PR saying, "Yep, we're doing this." Like there was not much rumbling about it before the PR.
Okay.
It just kind of was like, "We're doing this. It's going to be here." Hurrah!
And then did you hear anything from teams after that of like, "Oh, it was ran great. It wasn't ran great."
It was ran fine because it was in front, but there were no fans.
Well, all I'm asking is because
the two biggest feedback was the format was dumb, and there were no fans.
I'm asking because if this does turn into a situation where new bidders would come around, is there any possibility that now seeing there is a market of World Supercross fans that even In Front thinks about it?
No.
No?
No. David's too smart. So I know that when the FIM put it up for tender first time, is that a saying? Put it up for tender?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't really know how. I'm not that smart to understand this terminology.
Or, bid?
When they opened the door,
yeah.
I know that the FIM fully were like, In Front will take this. We're fine.
Really? They thought that?
They were like, In Front will take this. We're good.
Yeah.
And In Front were like, we want nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Because David In Front, they aren't stupid. They know that Feld and AMA Supercross and MX Sports,
yeah, there's more of a better relationship there. Yeah.
But even then, the relationship wasn't that far along at that point. You've got to be an idiot to not be like, they've got such a stranglehold on this. It's almost a losing battle.
Yeah. No, and honestly, you're right about that, because it seems that the relationship is really good right now between In Front, MX Sports, and Feld, and they're all trying to work together in some shape or form. There's obviously the potential for a combo GP national.
I have heard, not necessarily from a good source, but kind of a good source, that there is a chance that the SMX playoffs go international in 26.
Okay. Yeah.
Which would make perfect sense. Because also, on a separate conversation, completely separate, I had a text from someone who's really in the know at In Front last week. I sent you the screenshot, who said there's something brewing. In Front have ideas about working with SMX.
Okay.
So like there is watch this space of like something to do with that, I guess.
And that would 100% take them
nail
out
in the coffin.
Yeah, they would just not even think about it.
Exactly. So like all I can think is like the promoter of a British Championship. Maybe like, because he's quite ambitious. He has the Western Beach race. He has the British Championship. Yeah. Maybe he looks at it and goes, I'll have a stab at that.
But so maybe we're even getting too much ahead of ourselves. We're just theorizing at this point that if it goes belly up, this could happen. In the situation that it does go on, what do they have to do? Like, is it just, well,
I would rebrand.
Shit happens, start over, I guess. Like, is that what they're doing? Or
realistically, SX Global is not what it was. All the people have left.
Right.
So I would get rid of that name, completely start fresh. I would maybe even try and rename it. I mean, WSX is quite an obvious name, so I don't know what you'd rename it to. But if I was going to give this a good go as the same people and push on, I would really make an effort to rebrand and start fresh.
SXGP?
Sure. But also, final point, don't forget, the new investors were responsible for the documentary on Netflix about a football team, a soccer team.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe something's brewing behind the scenes. We're going to get a calendar and a Netflix announcement next month.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, because there's nothing official out yet, and the Adam thing, maybe it was way deeper than we see with, like they didn't like him or something like that.
There was I know a lot. There was definitely like cause for concern. I think both ways.
Okay.
No one, including Adam, was like, he is doing a perfect job. Everyone was fucking up in their own way.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is kind of, I guess, natural for a business. Everyone does fuck up in their own way. The issue is they were fighting an uphill battle before that.
Right.
But yeah, I spoke to the investors in Abu Dhabi, and they spoke to me about their connections at Netflix and what they would want to do. Who knows? I wouldn't even put that past them that we get that announcement.
Yeah, it's all up in the air. It's going to be a really interesting saga to continue following, and I feel like at this point it's like we just broke through with a little bit of something, and now the floodgates will probably open in the next few weeks. So we'll circle back on this. Yeah, we probably will skip a topic here today and only do 5, but it's WSX, man.
Fascinating.
Hopefully not RIP.
Like, I don't like the fact that when you talk about it, you come across as a hater, because I genuinely find...
I want this to succeed. I want Adam to be successful. Like, it is fascinating. And honestly, like, I kind of think this works better for Adam. Like, I think he could go back to focusing on the events that have been wildly successful that he's put on, and he kind of becomes like the hero again, because he's been dragged through the mud a little bit with this thing.
Yeah.
Right?
You could argue whether his reputation has suffered irreversibly, somewhat.
A little bit, yeah.
But, and then also the fascinating element of, if he does do an Australian OzX Open again, he's then in competition with WSX if WSX go to Australia.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, interesting stuff. Let's get into our first non-moto topic of the day. Might be our only non-moto, or we might do 2 non-moto back to back. I don't know. We're all over the place right now, but we're gonna have fun with it.
We are officially off.
We're off the rails here. All right. So this one, I have no idea what's about to happen, Lewis. So 7 minutes on the clock. You just said I have "Am I a dick" topic today. So what do you got, Lewis?
Yeah, back by popular demand. Am I a dick? So I was sat on a plane Sunday morning. Nothing grinds my gears more than when you get on a plane and the overhead bins near your seat full, so you have to put your bags at the back, and it's just a faff.
Yeah, and then you're walking back across people.
So I do make an effort in light of that to make sure that I don't lollygag when it comes time to board, because I want my spot. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get on there as quickly as I can.
Yep.
So seat 12C I was. Nice. Lovely. Got a spot.
Aisle.
Yep. Got a spot above me with my bags. Had to kind of push them in, but it worked. And I was like, I dodged a bullet here. Shut the door, because I was like, no one else is putting stuff in here. Shut the door, sat down, relaxed. 10 minutes later, a woman comes along. And I was just like, this is good. She's going to be trouble. Could read it from a mile off. She opens the bin that I shut, takes my bag out, which immediately I was like, here we go. But I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So I just sat there watching silently. And then she put her bag in.
Where yours was.
Yeah, and then tried to put my bag back in to make it all fit. And I knew it was, I was
barely
tight.
got yours to fit in, yeah.
She couldn't do it. And then she went, excuse me, is this your bag? And I went, yeah. A passenger, this is. She went, excuse me, is this your bag? And I went, yeah. And she went, it doesn't fit there. I went, no. No.
Yeah.
Your bag doesn't fit there.
Yeah.
I've just watched you take my bag out. But the reason my bag doesn't fit is your bag has taken my spot.
Yeah.
Your bag doesn't fit there. This
Yeah.
isn't my problem. She wasn't having it. She was like, no, your bag doesn't fit. Like, I've made it work, but your bag doesn't fit. And I'm like, communicating with an idiot.
Yeah, seriously.
Which I'm not great at because I don't know how to speak their language. So then I had to call the air hostess over and be like, and then I had to like a child
Explain it to her.
because also I had a connection. So like I wasn't willing to back down because if I had to put my bag all the way at the back,
Yep.
I wasn't
And
making
it
my
was tight,
connection.
right? 30 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to call the air hostess over and be like, look, I've been here for 20 minutes by now. My bag was up, blah, blah, blah. And she eventually told the woman to find another spot. But it made me feel like a bad person when really
No.
I was just innocent party dragged into this out of nowhere. And I felt like a dick afterwards. And I was like, you know what? I need Kellen's validation.
No. You're not a dick.
But
Honestly,
how fucking insane do you have to be?
I would have been livid. I would have been in the same boat as you. And it goes back to what we talked about a couple weeks ago. What the fuck is up with these people thinking main character syndrome? Like, why is it that, like, only their world exists and, like, oh, sorry, if I inconvenience someone else, it doesn't bother me at all. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't understand this.
I just remembered another. So that was flight 1. The second flight, I'm at the window. The middle seat is empty. Someone in the aisle seat. 2 hours into the flight, I need to go to the toilet. Person was watching TV, so I just went, excuse me, can I go to the toilet? They said no. And I was like...
So you couldn't even get up. Like, you're just stuck.
They just looked at me and they went, no. And I was like... And I didn't know if they thought I was asking something else, but what else could I possibly be asking?
I don't
Are
know.
you having a nice flight?
Yeah.
Do you want to chat? And I was like, should I ask again? And I was like, it's not worth it because
So you just held it.
Yeah, because I was like, how awkward. How fucking
How much
awkward.
longer was left on the flight?
2 hours.
I would
What
ask
is
again,
up with the
probably.
world?
I don't understand. No common courtesy, no understanding of like respect of the people around you. On flights, like I'm the type of guy that on flights, like I will purposely like let some people walk by me from back rows that are like obviously in a rush or whatever sometimes because I just don't want to bother with like being, no, I was first. Like it doesn't matter. Just we're all getting on the plane. We're all getting off the plane. Your bags are going to fit in a certain spot. Like go to the back of the plane where you're supposed to be sitting. Where was this woman sitting? Was she near you?
Yeah, she was like, I was 12C, she was 12D.
Oh, so she was in the aisle across from you. But then, like, all the bins were probably full by the
Yeah, they
time
were. Like I
she
say,
got out.
I boarded as quickly as I could, and I was already quite hard up.
So this was Delta?
Yeah.
Was it Comfort?
I was Comfort Plus for the first time in my life.
How the hell did she board so late?
Exactly. This is my point. It was on her. Like, I feel justified because I already realized there could be an issue. So I put myself in a position to overcome the issue.
Yeah.
She wandered on with a bag of fast food. So, you know, that's already a type, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Waddles on. It's like, oh, fuck me. Like, when she, like, the minute she stopped there and started looking around, I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
Because, here we go. No. I don't get people, and it really annoys me because I'd love to just tell these people, like, you're a fucking idiot, but you can't, can you?
No, and planes are the worst. Like, it brings out, honestly, the most disrespectful bunch, I feel like, for some reason. I don't understand it. I'm usually pretty lucky, knock on wood, that I'll have people that sit next to me that are usually pretty nice. If I'm like aisle or window, I'll give them the armrest. It doesn't bother me. Like if I'm on the armrest, I'll be a little annoyed if some people next to me, if I'm in the middle, I'll be annoyed if some people take the armrest or whatever. But I don't care. Like I'm not going to fuss about that much stuff. But your situation, I would have been pissed.
Well, speaking of that, so when I have a middle seat empty, I will use half of that tray table and leave the other half for them.
You'll pull their tray table down in the middle?
Yeah, for the empty seat. Just because then I can put my drink on there and I don't have mine down. Yeah. But I will always leave the other half free for them to do the same. This person who wouldn't let me go to the toilet, tray table down, used it all. So
Nice.
And I was just like, what are you doing?
Well, then that's the type of person they are. Main character syndrome. It's a serious problem.
So then their drink was like closer to me than it was them. I almost took a sip. When
that happens and you have no one in the middle seat, do you use half the footwell too?
Yeah.
Yeah, same. but I'll leave the other half
Yes.
open. Like you can put your foot here, we'll play footsies or whatever in the middle. But
I'm not. I'm going to take advantage, but I'm not going to take advantage. I'm going to take advantage, but I'm going to let you take the same amount of advantage.
yes, yeah, exactly. No, I would have been pissed. That's a stupid situation
I'm a victim.
that she put you in, because then you have to look like the asshole
Yep.
that calls the
Yep.
flight attendant over and been like,
Yep.
here's my situation, blah 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 blah. Was she upset? Like, was she like, no, I put my bag up and now he's trying to, or whatever?
No, she was kind of a bit like, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So she was very like, very gestury with noises.
Yeah, that would have grinded my gears.
Remind me what other topics we have if we're getting rid of one.
Well, we have the Anstie, we have the RV, and we have historical events. You tell me.
Should we get rid of historical events?
I guess, and just do one non-moto this week.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Well, let's rattle.
We got 2 more topics to get through, and we're gonna fly through them. Well, actually, we have 15 minutes. We're okay. Yeah, we started. We have 15 minutes left to an hour of the show. So
I mean,
chill out,
that will
Lewis.
cut it fine for
Okay,
me.
we'll get you flying out of here as fast as we can. All right, so the next topic, moto topic here that we're going to get into, which real quickly, shout out to Racetech since we're not doing a fan topic this week. Racetech Gold Valves provide a plush feel with drastically improved bottoming resistance and increased traction. All Racetech products are 100% guaranteed and made in the USA. So thank you to Racetech as well for always supporting the show. All right, Max Anstie gets the win over the weekend in Philadelphia, and second career Supercross win, and it's been 15 years since he originally came to the USA to chase the Supercross dream, the motocross dream here, and then left at the end of 2010. So the topic we wanted to get into is how much different would Max Anstie's whole career in life and everything be if he stayed in the US and never left?
That's a good question. Because he is now a 250 Supercross title contender.
Yep.
You would presume that he would have gotten there 10 years sooner had he stayed here. And honestly, he should have stayed. Well, not should have, but could have. Like, he got a 4th in his rookie year of Supercross. He won a heat in Seattle. Like, there was enough there to entice another team.
Yeah.
I've actually never asked him if he had an offer to stay, or if he literally GPs was his only option. But yeah, he was like capable in that year on Star. He turned pro in 2009 with J-Law KTM.
Yep. Which,
if there's one man who you just know is going to bro down with J-Law, it's Max Anstie.
Yeah, I'm sure they're real tight, real good buddies.
Yes,
yeah.
You can just imagine the conversations.
My
in
dear
the truck.
friend Jason Lawrence,
Yes.
by the way. Yeah.
By the way, I need to send you a photo.
Okay.
Regarding Jason
Yep.
Lawrence.
Hit me.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, would he be a Supercross champion by now?
I kind of think so.
Yeah, you kind of would. You'd have to say
because
so.
think about the talent pool that he would have gone up in that era a little bit. It would have been Tomac and Barsha in that group.
Yeah,
but
true.
After that, if he had not won a title by then and was still around and hadn't pointed out or whatever, it would have been Marv coming up, J Mart, Will Hahn, Bogle, like that group that he would have, I think, been at the forefront of, and then graduated to 450s by like 2015, right?
Yeah, and then early 2010s 250 class was deep with Tomac and Dean and Barsha and
I think Porcel was 2010 too, right?
Yes, and Rattray, Tommy, like it was deep.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that maybe is why he left, because there was so many talent options. Yeah, there were so many talent options that there just wasn't enough room for everyone.
Right.
So actually, yeah, if he had, and to be honest, I don't know how old he would have been when he turned pro, but if he had stayed amateur for maybe 1 more year, 2 more years, because I'd imagine he would have rushed it.
I guess, right?
He ended up on J-Law KTM.
He was
it clearly
still
wasn't
16 when he got second in San Diego, right? Wasn't he?
He turned 31 last week.
Yeah, so San Diego was early enough in the year. He still would have been 16 in 2010 when he was battling for the lead in San Diego.
Yeah, and the only reason he finished 4th there was he crashed with 2 corners to go.
Oh, he got 4th. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
But otherwise, he was battling for the lead when he crashed.
Yeah. Yep.
So, like, yeah, in history, you look back and you say he never got a podium, but actually he had a sure thing podium.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Does it point to a bigger issue where is that not like the poster child for riders are given up on too soon?
I don't know. You could say the same about Zacho, maybe even. Zacho did
true.
basically kind of the same path.
Yeah, Zach was Max, but Zach just got back quicker.
Yeah. Well, so to that point, am I misremembering this? Did he not come in 2014 on a Suzuki?
Yeah, he did, and he did on 2014 on a Suzuki. He did on 2013 with a. Actually, no, I think you're a year off. No, yeah, you're a year off.
2013 was
2013 with a Suzuki, and he did in 2012 with Garibaldi Honda.
I don't remember 12 at all.
It was the worst
Zacco or whatever. So.
gear bike setup in history.
It looked awful. It was black. He was number 6 in
Yep.
GPs, right? Yeah.
Black pro grip gear.
Yeah, it was not
Black
good.
bike with like red accents. The whole thing was a disaster zone.
So when he came over and did those, was he even like a little bit of the Zacco mindset where like, hey, if this goes well, maybe a team over here is, or was it just like, I want to do Supercross, F it. I don't, what was his mindset?
I think it was more, I want to do Supercross, F it, but yeah, if this opens the door, I'm back.
Okay. So in an alternate universe, if he has Zacco results in 12.
Yeah, like from memory, when he did those Supercrosses, he was a 6, 7, 8, 9 guy.
Yep. I remember the Suzuki years being a little better than Garibaldi Honda when he came over, because I don't remember the Honda stuff at all, but I remember Suzuki is like, oh man, yeah, he's on top of the board.
I remember the Garibaldi thing definitely happened because he was 119. I've got an image in my head of him at Dodger Stadium with 119.
Wasn't Pocock?
That was a funny coincidence. Yeah, it's I feel like this does open multiple avenues of discussion.
So let's say theoretically doesn't leave Star. Star becomes what they become in the mid-ish 2010s. So about the time J-Mart gets there, Max is the veteran of Star, winning titles, battling for titles or whatever, then moves up. So say 2015, Max is a champion moving up to the 450 class. Where does he go, and what does his career look like in the next decade after that?
That's hard, because you could say that actually the events have actually prolonged his career, because maybe by now he's petered out and doesn't want to ride for Tedder, and that's that.
Because like, think about what was going on at that point in time. Villapoto had just retired from Supercross.
Yep.
So Cowie had, you could say, a seat open at that point. KTM was still waiting for Marv, so they had Dean.
Yeah, and there were more good seats because you had JGR, you had Hart and Huntington, you had Butler Brothers, which was a good team at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of options.
Honda was still Trey and Seeley. Seeley had just moved up to a 450 in 2015. So you could say if Anstie was a title-winning guy, maybe Honda takes him.
I feel like you could play this game with a lot of riders.
Yeah.
Like I had this conversation with Tommy Searle once, and he said that he had options. I think it was the year he left. He was talking to Geico and he was talking to Makita.
Yeah, why did he leave?
I don't know. We need to get to the bottom of this. I believe it was because the CLS deal was such good money, and also I feel like a little bit of forgotten history. I think I've got this right. CLS at that point was deep in their connection with Pro Circuit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he was going to do West Coast Supercross for Pro Circuit and then GPs for CLS.
So maybe,
similar to Roxon, because it was the same year.
Yeah, so maybe that's like, in his opinion, he's like, this is great.
Yeah, I can
get
on a
do
Pro
PC,
Circuit bike.
Maybe win a GP title, then come back.
Yeah,
right.
But then he broke his... He injured himself on a BMX?
Tommy.
Honestly,
on,
I want to sit down with Tommy because I've got some questions.
I just thought, like, to me, between Max and Tommy was like, yeah, dude, like, podiuming nationals, being up front.
He's a fucking good rider.
Yeah, he should have stayed. He really should have.
Yeah, Tommy's career is so overlooked, but he was as good as anyone.
He was good. And
as good as anyone.
And he was right in the mix with those guys,
yeah, like
at a young age.
Hangtown 2010. It was Porcel, Tomac, and Tommy.
Yep.
That was the group. That was his level.
And it was on a KTM that probably wasn't that great, to be honest. So.
And also he was the newbie.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Tomac was a rookie, but still he was like new to the heat and new to all of that.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's
I think I found we found next week's topic.
British banter.
Well, no, Tommy Searle.
Yeah, Tommy Searle. Get to the bottom of those answers before
then we'll put him in the title.
Yeah.
And we'll get all of his vlog traffic.
It's really fun to kind of tie these two together because it really does, in a way, combo a little bit. we're trying to decide how Max's career would have been if he stayed in the U.S. Well, at the time, if he had moved up in 2014 and 2015, he would have done so at the crossover of Ryan Villopoto going to GPs. So this is going to be our last topic of the day, and we're going to discuss what did Ryan Villopoto retiring from Supercross early, he was only 27, I think, and choosing to go to GPs, how did that change the sport? Like, what is the perception of GPs now from American fans and what Americans think they could do over there? What did that change about the dynamic of who's on what team, Europe and US, et cetera, et cetera?
Is it fair to say that MXGP would not have as much American interest now if it wasn't for RV going? Or has the American interest been driven by hurlings at Ironman, the nations, etc., etc.?
I think we're already too far past Villopoto for it
Okay.
to matter. I think the interest is what it is. I don't think it was like all those new fans that came in are still hanging around 10 years later.
Yeah,
kind of
I
thing.
would bet that it's more hurlings, to be honest, for hurling's effect.
Well, I would just bet that it's honestly because of the fact that like it's easier for us to cover GPs now a little bit as well. Like the crossover of both, like you coming here as well has probably put a bit more of a push for American fans to care about GPs. And then on top of that, yeah, US is getting their ass whooped at nations every year except 22. And so the fans in general are looking at that and going, oh my God, look at how fast these guys are going. Like we should probably look at it a little bit.
So, topic done. It did nothing.
No,
Oh.
I'm not saying from fans' perspective, because honestly, I think the biggest thing that I'd like to discuss about this is how much different the contract landscapes looked.
Why?
Because so Villo leaves. Let's talk about US Cowie first of all.
Yeah.
Villo leaves. I assume they probably thought he was staying there in 15. They get Millsaps and Hahn instead, right?
Yep.
Doesn't go great, particularly for either. Millsaps gets canned before the year's over because of the locker gate situation. Then they had, I don't remember who filled in for them outdoors, but it opened up a seat for Tomac, right? Which they maybe would have done anyway if
Yeah,
Villo
I would
retired
go
at the
for that.
2015. But just say it didn't happen that way, then Tomac doesn't end up at Cowie, potentially, because of how it goes with Villo.
Okay, I can't get on with that.
Okay,
because
I'm just saying that's a potential. Flip over to Europe, Villo comes in, and in my opinion, you might have a different opinion, completely changes the way that Cowie team looks over there. It goes from French-based team, right, with Gauthier
Yep.
and Frossard.
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, and then he went back. No, wait. Frossard. What did Frossard? Frossard was on Yamaha in
2013, I think, and then I thought he went to Cowie with Gauthier. Either way, Gauthier was the Cowie guy.
Yes.
Villo comes over, Gauthier, you're gone. Oh, who does Villo need? He needs Rattray as a teammate. So, yep, Villo and Rattray, they're the Cowie team now. Just completely changed the way that team looked in a single year because Villo wanted to go there, and he's gone after 3 GPs.
I don't know if it changed it that much because he will tell you that he was unhappy because it was such a French team that was stuck in their ways.
They probably didn't want to lose Gauthier, would be my guess.
I don't know. Well, you've got to think as well. Maybe this is all irrelevant because, by all accounts, Gautier's HRC contract, which he went
was
to,
big.
was like the biggest contract in MXGP
Really?
history.
I mean, I think if Paulin had stayed at Cowie, he may have won the title that year.
I mean, that's another element to this. If Paulin didn't go to HRC, you could argue that he was never the same guy.
That's what I'm saying. I think the Honda changed him a lot. I thought he was way more of like a kind of loose rider, like really sendy, and then the Honda just did not like him doing that, and it spit him off a lot. So then he tightened it up and became more of a fluid, smooth rider, I thought.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a hard one because I feel like Paulin is a bit, as bad as it sounds, overrated.
Okay.
Like I think the Flash maybe blinded some people.
Okay, so let's talk about 2015 GPs real quick. Fevre wins it.
Yep.
But Nagel, Desal, Cairoli, Paulin, all in it for a decent little bit. Nagel was the championship leader pretty far into the season. If you say Fevre doesn't win the title that year, who should have won the title?
What do you mean should have?
Like in terms of their speed was great until they got hurt or the things went wrong or whatever.
Well, either Nagel, Desau, or Cairoli.
Right. So I think that Paulin would have factored in with those guys
right,
if he was still on a Cowie. The Honda, I don't think, helped him. So that's what I'm saying, is I think Villo going over there reshaped kind of the paddock there a little bit, because I thought Paulin would have stayed at Cowie. It surprised me when he was gone a little bit, but then Villo going made sense.
I heard that Paulin's HRC deal that year was more than what Crowley was getting from KTM.
Okay, so maybe he goes to Honda anyway. But then if that happens, who does Cowie hire?
But then also, I swear I heard that Paulin could have stayed at Cowie as Villopoto's teammate. And he was just like, no.
See? There you go. So because Villo comes over, like maybe Paulin kind of wanted to stay for less money.
But he does want to be the number one rider.
But he does want to be the number one rider, which he was with Balbershev was his teammate that year?
In HRC?
Yeah.
Yeah. Second and third in the championship. It was like a great end result for HRC, even though the actual race results were like extremely underwhelming versus the investment.
Yep.
Because I believe that would have been the first year that HRC was back, or was that 2014? You know, someone at HRC, to take this full circle, HRC offered Tommy Searle a ride in MXGP when he first moved up, I think, and he turned it down to stay at Kawasaki, which ultimately was a very bad move.
That was 2015, wasn't it?
No, he moved up
2014,
2013.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess so,
and then,
because Jeffrey was by himself in 13.
A couple of years in, Tommy was doing really well on a 450. Like KTM, on a KTM, he crashed, and again, the results were terrible, but his speed was unbelievable.
Why do I remember him being on a Cowie at Thailand that year?
Yeah, what year?
The year Villopoto won. Or was he on a KTM?
No, he was on KTM. But he was so good on that KTM. He was so fast.
He was good. Yeah.
Like that was it. It was clicking. And I remember saying to someone at HRC, like, you should sign Tommy now. And they said, the HRC boat comes along once, and if you don't get on, it will never turn around. And that stuck with me ever since, because I thought it was quite funny.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I think the general consensus is that Villopoto came over and maybe changed the landscape of the teams a little bit, changed the landscape of the teams in the USA, I think. Because if Villo stays, like, there's still the drive to keep him racing, I think. And Villo's even talked about it. He wished he would have pivoted.
I've said I would really like to talk to RV about this, because I feel like he's done a lot of interviews about it, but like I can get more out of him because I understand the real finer details of the GP side.
Yeah, but I mean, like, he has said, I wish I would have done what Eli did and left Cowie, went to a different team, which then completely changes the landscape again. Like, whatever team he goes to, I don't know. KTM, no, because Dungey. So then Suzuki? I don't know.
Well,
like,
because he was talking to 2-2, wasn't he? So that seemed like the most likely.
Okay, so then would have stayed Cowie, but went to 2-2?
No, because it was Honda. Whenever that rumor was going around, I think it was the Honda days.
2013. Reed was on a Cowie in 14.
I don't know. Maybe that was just I was a fan at that point, but maybe that was just a stupid rumor. But I swear they've both talked about it since.
Okay. Well, either way, I definitely think that was like.
I think Chad is on record as saying he was trying to sign Villopoto at one point.
Okay. It was certainly a ripple effect, I think. Villopoto retiring young, choosing to go to GPs, it totally affected both series, both from fan perspective, industry-wise, how people view the series, etc., etc. So kind of cool to relive, because it's now a decade since it happened.
Yeah. Again, we've kind of fucked up with this show, because I feel like most of the topics really needed the full hour.
Yeah, probably. We should have had a 5-hour show.
Yeah,
but we only got an hour.
But we can revisit.
Yeah, we'll revisit. But yeah, good topics. We only got 5 today. We'll try to sneak some more non-moto back in next week. But definitely send us your topics. We sent out a tweet today. Send us your non-moto topics. We want to hear them. We want to debate them. And we want Lewis to go get a haircut. Big shout out to EVS, Namura, and Racetech for backing the show. Lewis, thank you for joining me. You like the topics today? This is a good discussion.
Yeah, but I feel like we're not done. As in, next time and in upcoming weeks,
we're going to go back to these, yeah.
We will pick apart, like, sub-chapters. Like, Gautier, Tommy, they weren't even on the list. But
your GPs is, like, you're just so excited. Like,
no, but there's a lot of, like, old stuff that I want to get into.
Yeah.
Rattray.
No.
Like, Rattray's career. Yeah. That's a debate.
It is.
Like, what? Like, he's just disappeared, but how do we view that?
And honestly, are there podcasts talking about this?
No, this is why I think this is what we should do.
This is what makes it LVK.
like if we do, was the track in Philadelphia good? Like, fuck, who cares?
Yeah. All right. Like I said, big shout out EVS Sports Namura Race Tech. This is episode 15 of LVK More Than Moto, recapping stuff from Philly and a lot of other deep dives on some other stuff. We'll be back after Denver this coming weekend to probably talk about a couple quick Denver takes and then probably dive right back into Gautier, Paulin, and Tommy Searle. So,
Yep,
deep dives. All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.